Hey guys, what's up? We're going with the backyard shot again. So one of the shittiest things about being a developer is when no matter how much work you actually do, you just get more work. So that's actually one of the reasons why programmers sometimes get burned out, because you get this never-ending flow of work, and a lot of times the work isn't, it's not like messing around on your computer at home and just doing stuff whatever interests you, whether it's video games or something like that. But in the real world, you're working on somebody else's product, somebody else's vision, somebody else's business plan and everything, and it's okay, but because you get paid a lot of money to do it. But no matter what, though, you always get more work. So it's interesting because you have to kind of find the right balance about how much work should I be doing for my salary. And everybody should be working as hard as they can, but certain places will give you so much work that it takes basically 10, 12-hour days, where other people are much more reasonable. They'll give you about 8 hours worth of work and expect you to get it done. And should you slack a little bit, one day you could try to make it up in the next, or 1 week to the next. And I would say for the most of my professional experience, that's the way it's been. So that it wasn't like slave drivers and things like that, but even still, if you can do 12 hours worth of work and you can get it done in like 6 or 7 hours, especially when you're new to a company, or you're young trying to prove yourself, then typically what happens is you just get thrown more work, and you're kind of raising your own bar basically to what could be an unmaintainable level. So I guess that is the concern that one should have if they're trying to do as much as they possibly can. That they will end up eventually not being able to do that day in, day out, week in, week out, especially as you may get older or get more responsibilities, maybe find new interests. Man, you can hear all kinds of Virginia birds out here. The other day I was walking, I heard there's at least 10 different woodpeckers, man, just all pecking the trees around you, and I was looking for them and I couldn't find them. But I have actually seen them in my backyard, way back there. But yeah. Anyway, so another thing that can be very stressful about being a developer is that you're basically on any given assignment, whether it's a 3-week sprint or just maybe a couple days amount of work. The best analogy I can really come up with is that you're basically throwing a 500 to 1,000 piece puzzle. Probably 1,000 or more actually, because it takes you legitimately days to do some of these tasks that are assigned to you during a 2 or 3 week sprint. And in case you guys are unfamiliar with the sprint, they have this whole agile methodology in software development where apparently if we break things down into small tasks, we get more stuff done and we're able to better adapt to changing requirements and things like that. So I go back to the waterfall days. My first professional development was with a company that was doing waterfall development. And to me, Agile is quite a bit different. There's a lot more planning up front. A lot more, I think, analysis is done. So is there a huge difference between the two? I think it really depends on where you came from, because I've seen people that use the Agile methodology and then still kind of create this waterfall Agile combination where you kind of blend the two together in this this mix and mash of whatever the hell you want to call it. But the fact of the matter is that when you're given these assignments, you can equate it to maybe 1,000 or 5,000 piece puzzle or something like that. But let's just say 1,000, right? So then the thing is you're oh yeah, 1,000 piece puzzle. Even if you know how to do that puzzle, maybe you've done a few puzzles before. Shut up. Quiet. So even if you've done that a few times before. Sorry, the little dog is acting up here. But so even if you've done that a few times before, a puzzle sometimes, when you're halfway through it, all of a sudden the colors start changing, and then what used to be edge pieces are now the center pieces, and vice versa. So that's the best analogy when you have situations where people are coming up with new things that you need to do halfway through your development, and or maybe somebody goes out of town or something like that, and all of a sudden it's hey, they weren't able to get their stuff done, so now it's going to be on you, and then you have even less time obviously to analyze and try to figure out what's going on with that code. You just have to dive in. But that's really those are two difficult things I think to deal with being a developer. Number one, the more work you do, the more work that gets thrown at you, and then the higher the bar that you raise for yourself is. And clearly every company wants to get as much production out of each employee as humanly possible. But you know, there is that, and then there's also the fact that you constantly are up against this this stress factor where you don't know how long it's going to take you. Like if you said, hey, I'm just giving you a 500-piece puzzle or even a 100-piece puzzle, but you know, every couple of hours, you know, those pieces will change, the colors will change, the actual you know, overall schema of, or the overall end game, you know, with that puzzle, whatever it is that you're putting together, whether it's a picture of my backyard or something like that. But you know, that changes on you, and those little changes, and sometimes they're external, sometimes it's just like, damn, you ran into some sort of programming problem that you've never run into before, and you're spending 3 hours like researching where you thought it would have just taken you a few minutes to get all that put together. So you know, that said, you know, for my 4.5 years, 5 years of professional development, about 5 years now actually, it's been about that. You know what I mean? It's been situations where I'm like, oh, I put together that puzzle, I've done that Python, that Django puzzle before, I can do that. And then you just start, you know, you get down into certain rabbit holes where like you make maybe one bad decision, and then you pile on another bad decision on top of that, and another one, until eventually you have a complete messy shit pile of a code that you have to refactor. Like just the other day, for instance, I was like going down this what we call this rabbit hole, where it's like you think you're on the right path, and only to come to find out that things just get more complicated, and then eventually you're looking at your own code and you're just like, oh, this is a fucking mess, I know it could be done better. But at that point you're like, well, I've already devoted this amount of time, let me just continue to go forward, because at the end of the day, if it works, it's better than not working. You know what I mean? Like, so you could have beautiful code, and if it doesn't work, then the ugly code that works is going to be in a much better position to make your bosses happy, to make your career more successful and everything else. But the fact is like, you can get down these certain paths and these rabbit holes where you're like, I know that there's a better way, but at this point I've already punted on the better way to do it, and I just need to continue to go. So I was in that situation the other day, and then I ended up after spending like literally probably 6 or 7 hours just looking at the code and everything, and trying it this way and that and everything. I just basically was like, dude, you're just like, all of a sudden it kind of just hit me like, I don't have to do this, and I basically got rid of about 50% of the code and did it much more concise and in a completely different way than what I had initially intended. And it took probably 3 times longer than what I would have envisioned something like that to take. And had I had that perfect, you know, that perfect moment of clarity to say, hey, this is exactly what I'm going to do, I didn't have that, because like everything's not like the same puzzle you're putting together every time. Like I said, puzzle pieces change. Like there's just so many different variables that come into play when it comes to like trying to get an assignment done. And the point is that if you can balance that on your shoulders without freaking out, because some people freak out when they can't figure things out, you will eventually pull through. And I think that, you know, the more senior you are, the more you realize that you'll eventually, you know, pull through. And that, you know, people, you know, even if, like for me, I'm somewhat of a naysayer, like pessimist. You know, a lot of people say that. So it's like, I look at like, you know, the glass half full type of thing. So a lot of times though, that glass half full is like completely my own imagination. It's like, I'm respected generally everywhere I go. And I say that because, you know, I've had some shitty comments on YouTube and things like that. But for the most part, like I don't try to be a dick to people, and I'm pretty much, I would say, respected amongst my coworkers. There's been a few that are dicks, and I guess I'm a dick in return. But you know, that said, like you know, so I guess I don't have all these answers. So like in a way, like I'll look at it like, you know, I'm a fraud. You know, we've talked about that whole imposter syndrome and things like that. But you know, for the most part, like I don't have that. But I think even the most you know, successful and the most comfortable developers probably still feel that same feeling of like, okay, I'm throwing this new assignment, this new puzzle. You know, maybe I'm doing it for the first time. Maybe it's the 5th time I've done it. There's going to be those unknowns. So a lot of people, especially developers, the more senior you are, like you give it like 3 times the time frame that you think something will actually take you, just in case, because of all those unknowns. So all right guys, I'm just rambling on now, but you guys have a good night. Take care. Bye. Hey guys, so a lot of you ask me, how do I get my foot in the door to become a programmer? And I just want to take a moment to mention Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp is a 12-week intensive course that focuses on the technologies of the here and now for web development. Some of the things that they're actually teaching in this 12-week course, it's geared to get you into the industry by focusing on things like jQuery, Node.js, React, Angular, how to use GitHub. So a lot of the things that you're going to need to do as a developer, as soon as you start, they're going to be teaching you in this coding bootcamp, and the entire goal is to be able to get you into the industry within 12 weeks. So if you guys are interested in learning more information about Dev Mountain Coding Bootcamp, just check out the link in the description tab of this video. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Hey guys, so this video is also sponsored by Site123. So if you guys are looking to build a website quick and fast, or you know somebody that needs a website up and running, if you don't want to deal with DNS servers, domain purchasing, setting up your own server or webmail or anything like that, Site123 is going to make it a much easier process in order to get an actual website off the ground. So whether you have a blog or you're interested in trying to get your portfolio out there, showcase what it is that you're all about, what you can do, Site123 has you covered there, so make sure you guys check them out. The description tab below also has their links so that you can find out more information from Site123.